Now, listen, the Nittany Lions are back in action. And what's funny about these two teams before we start here, Lee, Penn State and Purdue almost mirror each other. They have veteran quarterbacks, good tight ends. They lost their number one receivers. They're both maybe a little average on defense this year. I like Penn State's defense a little bit better, but they also lack maybe a bit of a run game, depending on how Penn State's Kevon Lee does. So this game, I think a lot of people will be tuning into to see who's going to be the better team this season. So Lee, welcome. I'm very excited to see what you think about Penn State and Purdue. Don't forget, head over to BetMGM Sportsbook for our promo up to $1,000, your first risk-free bet using promo code MORNING.
Sure. Yeah, no, it's great to be here, Hannah. And yeah, I looked at this game and I've broken it down from pretty much every angle possible. And I do like over the total of 54.5. I do expect it to be a little bit higher scoring. You know, both teams are off different results last season to end their years. Penn State lost in their bowl game to Arkansas. Purdue was off a bowl win over Tennessee. As you mentioned, both teams have experienced quarterbacks, 6-year players. Aiden O'Connell for Purdue completed over 71% of his attempts last year. He threw for over 370 yards 6 times, including a pair of 500-plus yard performances. So he can sling it all over the field. Sean Clifford for Penn State, also a 6-year guy. He has a chance to be Penn State's career leader in passing yards, touchdowns, pass attempts, completions. You know, part of that's due to longevity, obviously, but clearly he's very good also. He only averaged 23.9 points per game, but I do expect that to be better this year. Going up against Purdue's defense. Purdue's defensive stats, I think, are misleading, as are Penn State's from last season. I'll get to that in just a moment. But down the stretch, Purdue gave up 29 or more points in the second half of the season to Michigan State, Ohio State, and Tennessee. You know, those offenses, at least Ohio State, Tennessee, are better than Penn State's. But they can give up points in this game. Purdue's offense is going to score. They were 22nd in total yards last season at 440 yards per game. They averaged 29.1 points per game. And as I mentioned, I think Penn State's defense is overrated. I think Purdue's defense is overrated for the same reason. Last year, Penn State faced 5 teams that ranked 107th or worse in total offense. So I think their defensive numbers were misleading because of that. I think both teams are going to score here. I expect plenty of points to get over that 54.5.
Yeah, I do. My only concern, though, is I think Purdue at the moment is going to have to rely a lot in the air, as Penn State may have to, depending on how their running back situation fares out. Are you concerned at all, though, with Purdue's offense going in the air against a secondary like Penn State's, which may be one of the more sound parts of their defense coming into this season?
Yeah, that's definitely a concern. You know, both teams are very good at converting on third downs. Both teams like to play fast. Last year, they were 2 of the higher paced or plays per game teams in college football. Both were top 29, I believe. So, you know, I prefer playing overs when it's more pass reliant offenses, which will be the case in this game. Like you said, Penn State definitely has an edge in the running game. But 54.5 just seems like such a marginal number. It just seems too low to me.
Yeah, I think so too, especially with the way, like we've been talking about these defenses. Are they going to be better? Are they not? Penn State did lose a lot of their big guys as well. Yeah. So I think these defenses are going to have a lot to prove, but offensively, they're definitely more sound in terms of being able to put points on the board, both of these teams with their experienced quarterbacks. And listen, Sean Clifford's kind of got to prove himself this year that he can be that guy for that final season, more so than I think Aiden O'Connell might have to. So I would agree with that. I think that's good, over 54.5. I'm really excited to see how these two teams, so similar, which one fares at the top.